and to imply that we should just ignore the impact that Caitlin Clark had on this team, this league, this sport. Nah, it doesn't work that way.
After basketball superstar Sue Bird changed her mind about Caitlin Clark, the WNBA went completely insane.
Sue Bird calls out ESPN hosts for, quote, hating on WNBA playoff ratings after Caitlin Clark's exit. You say, what? Why?
Yes, that's correct. Sue Bird, a former Caitlin admirer, criticized Stephen A. Smith, claiming that the WNBA is doing well without Clark. Caitlin may be heading to Europe, but she is also taking a lovely break at the moment. Sue also thinks the numbers are still quite high, which is untrue.
Sexism has been impacting the WNBA well before this year. This is not a new thing. Sure. This is, in that way, I do think Caitlin's being used as a pawn. Caitlin didn't bring sexism to the WNBA. This has been happening, and that, I think, is what's been such a shock for all of us.
Sue appeared to have had enough of Caitlin's defense, as her disappearance has caused a stir on social media, with fans demanding her return and refusing to watch anymore. WNBA.
Viewership numbers with Caitlin Clark are astronomical. She is a big draw. She brings in all the things. And yes, the games where she's not playing have lower viewership. But in the WNBA playoffs are still breaking records from previous WNBA years.
The facts are clear. Without Caitlin, the WNBA is declining and returning to reality with each game played. Although viewership has decreased without Caitlin, Sue thinks that Caitlin's absence from basketball won't have any negative effects.
But they don't want it to grow if it's certain people at the face. And there is still this undertone of jealousy that for some reason I cannot get around calling it anything else but that, because I don't know what else it could be. I thought it was going to get better this season, but it hasn't. There are still people who seemingly, to me, feel like they just don't want Caitlin to be a part of it.
Rachel DEA raised an excellent point. I know what the issue is, but WNBA legends don't want the sport to advance while Caitlin is the face of it. They would rather start again than face the competition Caitlin brings.
The problem, Sue Bird. I know that you gave her props and you acknowledged how phenomenal she was in terms of a draw. What Shannon Sharp and I were guilty of saying was that not enough folks were appreciating.
The WNBA was completely changed by Caitlin Clark's arrival, but as she left the playoffs, it seemed as though the league had lost its soul. With whispers of turmoil in Europe growing, the league may now be in serious peril. WNBA legend Sue Bird had nothing but positive things to say about Caitlin Clark at first. In her early remarks, Sue Bird had been a vocal supporter of Clark, believing that she was a player who could improve the game. Sue Bird saw that Caitlin Clark had the potential to completely transform women's basketball and wasn't just another rookie.
4 moved home games to bigger arenas when Indiana came to town to accommodate more fans. I'm not finished. Attendance for the entire league is up nearly 50% this year, and Indiana leads all teams with an average attendance of 17,035, up 319% from a year ago.
However, things took a surprising turn when Sub Bird started downplaying Clark's impact. This was surprising, especially coming from someone who had previously spoken so highly of Clark. In contrast, Bird seemed to suggest that the league's recent struggles had little to do with Clark's absence. This abrupt change in Bird's viewpoint left many fans perplexed and even incensed. If there is one person who has consistently supported Caitlin Clark, it is Stephen A. Smith, who is known for his bold opinions and unfiltered commentary. Smith has never been one to back down from controversy, and when Clark left the playoffs, he didn't hold back when stating that the postseason excitement had been destroyed by Clark's absence.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces-Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. It was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down, but attendance was as well.
Smith emphasized that the WNBA had lost its largest draw as a result of Clark's departure, pointing out that viewership had drastically decreased and that the league needed to acknowledge how crucial she was to their success. Smith's position was more than just a casual remark. It was a call to action. He felt that the WNBA should do more to support players like Clark and maintain the momentum, but Sue Bird wasn't having it. She publicly criticized Stephen A. Smith for his remarks, claiming that he was incorrect to blame Caitlin Clark's absence alone for the drop in playoff viewership. Bird retorted that there were other factors at work and that the excitement surrounding the playoffs wasn't reliant on a single player. Fans and commentators engaged in a contentious argument after Bird refuted Smith's assertions. On the one hand, you had Caitlin Clark, according to Stephen A. Smith, was the main cause of the enthusiasm surrounding the playoffs, but you had an icon in the sport. Sue Bird maintained that the WNBA was greater than any one player, even one with Clark's level of influence.
A lot of this noise came by people that were sitting on this network. They tried to minimize her, said, well, you giving her all this credit. What about the women that came before her? What the women came before her, what they did cannot be taken away. That ain't got nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. But there was a lot of people tried to make sure they keep Caitlin Clark in her place, because what you're doing, if you give her all this shine, you minimize what they done. We saw the ratings, we saw the merchandise sales, we saw the attendance, but y'all want to make it about something else.
Sue Bird continued to challenge Stephen A. Smith after that. She redoubled her efforts to deny that Caitlin Clark's absence was the main reason for the decline in NBA viewership, even as ratings fell after her departure. This refusal to acknowledge the Caitlin Clark effect left many fans frustrated because the numbers didn't lie. Viewership had spiked when Clark was playing, and it had dropped significantly when she was no longer on the court, indicating that there were other reasons for the decline that didn't sit well with those who had been closely following the playoffs. Fans noted that the excitement surrounding the games had noticeably decreased following Clark's departure, and it was difficult to ignore the correlation between her departure and the decline in ratings. But despite this, Bird persisted in refusing to give Clark the credit many felt she deserved.
Caitlin Clark has created more buzz around the basketball landscape and has actually transformed and revived a league that was the WNBA, and she is getting paid a measly $28 million.
As the controversy surrounding Caitlin Clark's influence raged, it became increasingly clear that Bird's refusal to accept Clark's influence left many fans feeling as though the WNBA's veterans were out of touch with the league's current situation. Fans who had once been drawn to the WNBA because of Clark's performances now felt alienated by the very legends they had once admired. The fact that Bird, who was once seen as a mentor to younger players, was now downplaying Clark's significance worried many, as it made them wonder if the WNBA was prepared to change or if it was stuck in the past and unwilling to fully embrace the next generation of stars. One of the most perplexing elements of this whole scenario has been the NBA's unwillingness to acknowledge Caitlin Clark's influence in its entirety. It was evident that Clark was unique as soon as she joined the league.
Don't y'all want a greater profile? Don't y'all want more notoriety? Don't y'all want more hype? I understand that it's going on still without her now that she's out of the playoffs because the games have been great. But the fact of the matter is, she swelled the interest in the sport.
Her games attracted large crowds despite the fact that her social media presence was unprecedented and her ability to connect with fans set her apart from many of her peers. The WNBA appeared hesitant to fully embrace the Caitlin Clark effect. Whether this was because of internal politics, jealousy from other players, or a simple refusal to acknowledge her star power, the WNBA failed to capitalize on the wave of interest that Clark brought to the league. Instead of promoting her as the league's face, the league seemed content to let her rise on her own without the full support of its promotional machine. This decision would prove costly as the league's viewership numbers started to decline after Clark left the playoffs.
The Caitlin Clark effect is definitely real. I mean, we can all see that. However, experiencing it in person is totally different. I was at the Fever in Indiana game last night, and the amount of 22s that I saw on the way to the arena and inside the Capital One Arena might as well have just been a home game for Caitlin Clark. Not Indiana, Caitlin Clark. The thing is, that didn't surprise me. But what did surprise me was how packed the game was.
The WNBA lost out on a chance to expand its fan base and establish its position in the sports industry by not fully understanding the Caitlin Clark effect. Instead, it is currently dealing with dwindling ratings. Irate supporters and little publicity for its main events, the league is in a vulnerable position that could be challenging to overcome as a result of its unwillingness to accept Clark's star power. Stephen A. Smith continues to be one of Caitlin Clark's most outspoken backers. Others, however, have minimized or completely disregarded her efforts. Smith has continuously criticized what he perceives to be an attempt to harm Clark. Smith has discussed how opponents have singled out Clark with fouls and ignored him when it comes to league-wide recognition, pointing out that the league appears to treat him differently than other players, whether it be through on-court targeting or a lack of off-court promotion.
Respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
All right, we gotta go.
Stephen, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Really
you
appreciate
missed, my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes the first.
Many of Caitlin Clark's supporters are starting to call for her to quit the WNBA entirely as the scandal surrounding her treatment there intensifies. They contend that Clark would be better suited playing in the EuroLeague, where she would probably be treated with more respect and have better opportunities. The demand from Clark's fan base to move sooner rather than later is becoming louder by the day. Many believe that the WNBA has revealed its true nature and that Clark would be better off playing in a league that values her skills and contributions there. With financial opportunities in Europe, fans feel that Clark's talents would be fully appreciated and she wouldn't have to deal with the constant targeting and mistreatment she faces in the WNBA. Whether the WNBA is prepared to acknowledge it or not, Caitlin Clark's legacy will continue to influence women's basketball going forward. If you liked it, please leave a like and subscribe. More videos are now available.